We'll have an awesome intro today. Welcome to Job Club. We're so glad that you joined us today. We'll get started shortly. For now, please locate the chat box and toggle the two icon from all panelists to all panelists and attendees to ensure we can see your questions and comments as we move through the program today. Let us know where you're logging in from and what kind of work you are seeking if you're a job seeker. Alrighty, we'll be getting started shortly. Welcome everyone. Please put where you're coming from. We'll give you a friendly good morning here. Welcome everyone. We'll get started shortly. Alrighty. Welcome. Alrighty. Good morning. Good morning. Looks like it's Cal here. Good morning from Fort Wright, Kentucky. Good morning. Welcome to Job Club. Good morning. Hi, Leslie. Welcome. Well, it's Leslie from Harrisburg, Kentucky. Good morning and welcome to Job Club. Thank you for joining us today. We'll have an awesome presentation here full of information for you. Welcome to Job Club. Don't forget to toggle that icon from in the chat box, I should say there, from the two icon from all panelists to all panelists and attendees to ensure we can see your questions and comments as we move through the program today. And of course, continue to let us know where you're logging in from and whether or not you are seeking employment here. And of course, if you're a job seeker, sorry. Let's see here. Who do we have here? Hi, Crystal. Crystal signing in, sorry, from Alumni Bank. Oh my gosh. Hi, welcome. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you. Hi, Tony. Good morning from Lexington, Kentucky. All righty. Is it Amar Holmes? Okay, from UKY. Welcome. I hope I said your name correctly there. Okay, we have Tanya Fields, career coach for Goodwill. Thank you. So Industries of Kentucky. Good morning from Barberville, Kentucky. All righty. Thank you, Tanya. Thank you and welcome for joining us today. Don't forget to toggle the icon from the two icon from panelists to panelists and attendees so we can see your questions in the chat box later today. Later in the morning during this presentation. All righty. Thank you. Thank you all from Amir. Thank you for correcting that. I love to pronunciate names correctly. So thank you, Amir. Ellie, good morning. Good morning to you. Thank you. All righty. Allie, good morning from the Fayette County Extension Office. All righty. Good morning. Thank you for joining us, Allie. Thank you guys so much. Don't forget to toggle your two icon in the chat box. Toggle the two icon from panelists to panelists and attendees so that you can chat during the presentation. All righty. Okay, good morning. Tanya Parsons in Lexington. Okay, business coach with Kentucky Small Business Development Center. All righty. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us this morning. Hello, Amber. Thank you. Oh, this is Amber in Texas. All righty. Thank you, Amber. Thank you for joining us all the way from Texas. All righty. Thank you so much. This will be a great presentation today, you guys. Be sure to put your questions in the chat box as well. All righty. We have an interactive session here today, so be sure to put those questions there. Our speaker queen is from Texas too. All right. I didn't know that one, so okay. All righty. Anyone else? All righty. Let's see here. Joe from Georgetown. Thank you so much for attending, Joe. Good morning. Everyone. Pace. Good morning, Pace from Lexington. And welcome to Job Club. Welcome to Job Club. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. All righty. And we have Amanda Shagney here who's going to give us a brief introduction here about Job Club. Good morning to you all, and thank you again for joining us.
Thanks, Nicole. Appreciate you. All right, let's go ahead and get started. I have 9:01. We're so grateful for you joining Job Club today. Queen, if you'll toggle over to the next slide for us, we'll go through the agenda. Quick welcome. We'll do success stories. Our main speaker, Queen-Ayanna Sullivan with UK Alumni Career Services. So proud of her, and she's got great slides for you today. We're going to share some active job leads and talk about our job lead newsletter. We'll give some quick partner updates, and we'll talk about next time at Job Club. Next slide. This is our Job Club Facilitators team, Diana Doggett with Fayette County Cooperative Extension and Caroline Francis with Alumni Career Services are both out on vacation, enjoying some time, well-deserved time this week. I'm Amanda Shagney with Alumni Career Services, and you just heard from Nicole Waite with UK Steps Temporary Employment. Special shout out to Ellie Goodman. She's moderating the chat today, and Suzanne Smith. She's doing the back end with Facebook Live, and you'll be getting an email from her later this afternoon with the active job lead. So be sure to watch for that email later today. Next slide. Our mission at Job Club is to provide a positive environment for job seekers to network and learn best practices for the job search. We try to rotate those topics every time that we meet so that you can get the most out of each session. We meet on the second and fourth Tuesday of each month at 9 a.m. And you can find the schedule of topics at ukalumni.net/job club. We recently started popping the recording and the PowerPoint files into that website as well. So if you go onto that website and you toggle over to past sessions, you'll be able to see the PowerPoint files and links to the recordings on Facebook for those. And we'll get the recording and the PowerPoint files up for today's session later this afternoon. So we're able to turn that around pretty quickly. We are having the summer schedule online due to COVID, but we're really hopeful to continue with hybrid, go back to some in person at the Fayette County Cooperative Extension for our fall schedule, which starts in September. So we're currently working on that schedule now, but you can see the list of speakers for summer at ukalumni.net/job club. Next slide. Welcome to our first timer. If it's your first time at Job Club, feel free to pop in the chat. I'm a first timer. We want to welcome you to the group. When we're in person, we always do a little blue dot on your name tag so that we can be sure to visit and welcome and see you in person. And we're so excited to get back to that in September to see you. But online, if you have any questions of the Job Club Facilitator crew, know that you can always email us. I'll put my email in the chat once Queen gets started here, and know that we're here to support you with questions and lots of career related programming. Okay, you're also going to get an email from Suzanne Smith at the Extension office later today with a quick survey. And that survey, when you fill it out, will put you in the notification system for future programs. So please do fill that out. We run that report pretty often, and that's how we know what topics are timely and that are in demand for the Job Club schedule as we're building it out. Next slide. Few quick resources that are available to you. Be sure to check out our Job Club resource packet. And today, Queen's going to be referencing it quite a bit during our session. So go ahead and pull that up. You can see on there, we've got some job search FAQs from our career counselor team, some networking opportunities. Some of those are meeting remote now, but more places are starting to pick up in person. Informational interview tips or networking tips. There's a directory of Lexington area staffing agencies on there. That's a really good one. And then lots of articles of interest that we've compiled on there. And then important for today, the resume review checklist and action verb list. So definitely check that out. You'll see that on the left-hand side, ukalumni.net/job club. We also want to invite you to join our LinkedIn sharing community. We've got over 200 members right now. That group, every time we meet at Job Club, continues to grow. And employers will often email us job leads for the job lead newsletter or job lead sharing later in the program. And sometimes they close before our next Job Club session. We meet on the second and the fourth Tuesday of the month, but if it closes on that Monday, we always pop those job leads into the sharing community on LinkedIn. Employers and guests that are online as well, you're welcome to join and post your job leads. Or if you're a regular attendee and you found a job lead that you'd like to share with the group, we always welcome you to do that. So if you'd like to join that group, I'll watch once Queen gets started and go ahead and approve those requests. But you're most welcome to join our sharing community online. Next slide. Success stories, one of our favorite parts of the program. I haven't gotten any in the email, so I'm curious if there's any in the chat, so I'll give you a second here. Success stories doesn't always have to mean that you landed your job, although if that's the case, we want to hear about your success. So we're watching in the chat now. It might mean that you applied to a certain number of jobs, like you had a goal, I'm going to apply to 5 jobs this week, 10 jobs this week, and I met that goal. It might mean that you met someone for networking coffee. It might mean that you had an interview screener or a phone interview. So in the chat box, we'll be watching for that for a quick moment and responding in there. If you had recent success since our last session, we want to celebrate you. We want to celebrate you. All right, next slide. We'll go ahead and I'll be watching the chat for more success stories to come through. Pace just shared one. Yes, I applied for a job using a resume created with help from Career Services, and I have an interview next week. Yes, that's exactly what we want to hear. I'm so glad that you found some success in getting an interview after doing some resume updates. And my hope is that after today, everyone will be tweaking their resume. So even if that means you're doing a split screen and watching Zoom and working on your resume at the same time as Job Club today, we want you to do that. Any little tweaks that you can do to your draft, we want to support you in that too. All right, thanks so much. All right, next slide, Queen. Sorry about that. All right, it's my pleasure to introduce Queen-Ayanna Sullivan. She served as a graduate assistant at Alumni Career Services and is a recent graduate from the Counseling Psych Master's Program right here at UK. She also graduated cum laude from UK in 2019, received a BA in Psychology and Human Communication, and currently Queen's an incoming student in the Counseling Psych PsyD program at Radford University in Virginia. We're so proud of her. And we're really lucky that she's working with us part-time as a career counselor in Alumni Career Services. We love her so much. We just could not let her go for the summer, and she's been such an incredible partner. Queen, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and start your video on there and tell us a little bit more about you, and go ahead and start your program. Feel free to tag me if you need anything. But Nicole will be watching the chat for questions closer to the end.
Yes, thank you so much, Amanda, for that warm welcome. Good morning, everyone. I am so excited to be here with you all. As Amanda just said, I am a UK alum. I just graduated about a month and a half ago, and I am so excited to begin my doctoral program at Radford University. I love psychology. I love what I do, and I love career counseling. It's something that I have really taken a passion for, and I kind of think it's my niche, and I am so excited to share these tips and tricks with you all. Resume reviews are something that have come so easy to me over time. I really love looking into the fine details, the nitty gritty, looking at your grammar, looking at your formatting, seeing when you have an extra space or something like that, an extra comma. And so I really hope that you all are able to take some good tips and tricks away from this presentation today, because such minor things can make a big difference in your resume, and people really do see it when you're submitting your application to a multitude of jobs. Okay, so as Amanda said, my name is Queen-Ayanna Sullivan, and I'm going to be speaking to you all about how to write a job-winning resume. If you have any questions at any time, please put them in the chat, and we will answer them towards the end of the presentation. So, oops, have you ever been quickly writing something and you just happen to look over it? You don't think twice about it. You're like, oh, the computer will catch it. Well, here are some things that people actually left on their resume by accident, and they got submitted with a job that they were applying to. So an applicant writing whorehouse instead of a warehouse. That's where they worked. An applicant claimed to have worked in a jail when they were actually serving time. An applicant for a driver position claimed to have 10 years of experience when they only had their driver's license for 4 years. People do run background checks, so do not, be withholding the truth. They had a career break in 2014 to renovate their horse instead of house. And a woman who sent her resume and cover letter without deleting some feedback said, "I don't think you want to say this about yourself." That is some very real feedback. We use a lot of immediacy here at Alumni Career Services. And so sometimes we'll tell you all, you may be perceived as this, you may be coming off as this, and I don't think that's your intention. And that's pretty solid feedback, but you want to make sure that you're removing that off of your drafts before submitting it somewhere. Seeking a part-time position for potential advancement. You don't want to party at work. That's not very professional unless that's in the field that you do, unless you're in event planning. And so you want to make sure that you are proofreading it, double, triple checking it before you submit it anywhere. And reason for leaving last position, maturity leave. That can sound a little concerning to a future employer. And so you just want to make sure that you are really paying attention to everything before you submit it to someone else. So the next thing is, I am so sorry, everyone. The next thing is targeting your resume. So the most important thing I think that someone should keep in mind when submitting their resume is that you want to update it for every single position that you're applying to. Yes, it may be annoying. Yes, it may be time consuming, but it's going to be worth it in the long run because your resume should be tailored. You want to capture someone's attention. You want to pull in those keywords. You want to, make it fresh and new and make it seem like you put some effort and attention into it because someone is going to see that and be like, okay, maybe I should, take an extra few minutes to look over it. The research shows that best practices now kind of are a 4 to 7 second glance from a hiring manager to look at anyone's resume. So when someone receives a resume, they're looking at it and they're like, what is the most important thing that I need to know about this person? What stands out on the page? What captures my attention? Why should I spend more time looking at it? Everything is very fast paced, especially in the United States. And so it's important to think about, why am I applying to this job? What do I get out of it? What do I give back to them? A resume is an essential piece of any job search, and it's required for almost all job applications. And it's a self-marketing tool. We say this about LinkedIn as well, especially with Zoom and COVID and things going online. People are getting everything that they can feel about you, a first kind of impression based off of your resume. So you want to make sure that it is the best thing that you can present possible. Best representation of yourself, I should say. So there are two types of resumes that are most common. First, we have our chronological, and across the board, this is what we see for the most part. And it organizes the content in reverse chronological. So most recent back in time. What is the job that you're currently working? What's the job that you worked before that? What's the job that you worked before that? You would follow this formatting for everything in your resume. So whether it be your work history, whether it be your education and sales training or continuing education credits, whether it be awards and accomplishments, professional development, anything like that, those would all be in reverse chronological. And a functional resume. These are most common for people that are doing big career switches. So say you worked for the government for the past 20 years, but now you want to open a bakery. You still have relevant skills that would be transferable. This is also common for people that may have taken some time away from the workforce to raise a family or take care of an elderly parent. It highlights your skills. It highlights soft skills. A lot of people don't often play up if you have conflict resolution skills, if you handle stress easily, if you know how to communicate with children, if you've worked with children for a long time. Those are soft skills that are very important that not everyone would have. So you really want to make sure that you communicate that effectively. Chronological resumes. So a chronological resume starts by listing your current or most recent position first, jobs that are listed in reverse chronological resume order. So kind of like what I just talked about, if we see right here in the picture. So 10 years, 5 years, most recent, you want to make sure that you're going back in time. Employers typically prefer this type of resume because it's easy to see what jobs you have been held and when. If you do not have it in reverse chronological, it can get kind of confusing. So say when you first started off working, you worked at a Starbucks. I worked at a Starbucks, but now I am an incoming doctoral student. I don't want someone to see that and think that that's the most important thing to me. That's the most important skill set that I have. That's the most recent skill set that I have because I've developed over time and I've gained more skills than what I had when I first started. And so that's why we have it backwards kind of. The next thing is a functional resume. So a functional resume focuses on your relevant skills and experience for the target position rather than the chronological work history. Commonly used by career changers or individuals who may have gaps in their employment history. This is kind of important, like I said before, soft skills versus hard skills. So I gave the example of maybe working with children before and having that communication skill. You may have hard skills that are useful as well. So say you are just very tech savvy, you love computers, or say you really love engines, but you've never worked really in an automotive industry. Those are hard skills that you know how to use your hands, you know how to get in the nitty gritty with things. And these are skills that not everyone has. And so you want to make sure to sell those up, especially if you've received some type of online certification. Those are something that a lot of people have been taking advantage of with COVID. You haven't been in the office. Maybe some people might have been experiencing unemployment. And so if you have any type of certification, you want to make sure that you're noting that on your resume. It sets you apart from all the other applicants that are going through the same position as you. So modernizing your resume / professional summary. You want to tailor your resume for each position, and you want to make it keyword rich. This is kind of taking the place of an adjective summary. Those aren't really relevant anymore, and they can aid you while going through the job search process. You want to keep it very short. So right underneath your header of your resume, this is what we're talking about, that next section. Keep it short. Overall, 2 pages maximum, even for experienced professionals, for your resume. This is because people aren't going to read it. People don't like reading huge chunks of text. And so you want to make it as easy as possible for your reader to get through the information. What's most important? Consider your resume a snapshot of your most recent / relevant experience. So 10 to 15 years maximum. Design it for skimmers, not readers. And written in short chunks of information. No long paragraphs. 2 to 4 lines maximum as a descriptor for volunteer experience, professional development. Bullet points no more than 3 to 5 in a row, and some white space is good. Just because, think about it now. When you're looking at my slide, what is pulling your attention? What are you gravitating towards? You got to think the same would be for anybody that's reviewing your resume. So resume keywords. We talk about this a lot when we meet with our clients because applicant tracking systems are pretty common in today's day and age. So how to find key, and when we talk about an applicant tracking system, it's pretty much like an Indeed. It's a job board. That's a common one that I like to give my clients. So it's a place where you are submitting your resume and it's going all of the places. LinkedIn also has this feature where you can apply through jobs through that platform, but you want to make sure that you are getting the most hits. The reason why job boards are important is because they are pulling resumes. So the more points that you have, the more likely your resume is to get pulled. And you receive points based off of how many words you have in common with the job description. So you want to brainstorm keywords. Job search boards are your target job search boards for your target job. So say you are in an engineering field, or say you're in real estate, you wouldn't necessarily use the same type of job boards. You would have some that are specific to your niche. Search LinkedIn for your target job. So just because you search one job board for real estate doesn't mean that there aren't other job boards that may be helpful for you. You want to keep that in mind. And one that we have right here is 12online.com, and that's a resource that you all can definitely log on to and explore on your own time. So some resources for using keywords are jobscan.com or jobscan.co and TagCrowd, and I'm going to explain it a little bit more. But while you're going through keyword search, you want to make sure that you are highlighting. Even if you have to go through your own resume, you can do it online, you can print out a copy. You want to highlight those keywords, highlight things that you want people to know about you, things that you want to stand out, and think about how can you emphasize them more in your resume, in your drafts of your resume when you're submitting it. So our TagCrowd example. This is a function on a site that you can put, basically you can copy and paste a job description, and it will tell you what are the most common types of words that are popping up for that type of field, popping up for that type of entry. So this person is looking for a manager, manufacturing operations position with GE appliances. So when they type in that type of job, these are the words that are most common. So we're thinking about production, we're thinking about team, work, ensure, area, escalation, daily. These are keywords that people who hold this job are doing. These are key things that are coming up in their everyday, work. And so these are words that you might want to include on your resume because it might be more beneficial for you in the long run. They may see that, oh, this person already kind of has a skill set or knowledge that would be transferable to what we're looking for in a future employee. And that's important to keep in mind. So our job scan example, this is also using our keywords. And so this is another one where you can copy and paste some text, and you can also copy and paste your resume. And what it will do is it will kind of, the computer will do a scan between both and look at what's transferable, how much overlap is there. And this is beneficial because, like I said, the more overlap, the more points that you get, the more likely your resume is to get pulled. And so it will look at the recruiter finders, the skills match, the premium format checks, cover letter checks, and just the overall findings. And you would want to get at least around an 80% of a match, because that will show that, you know, you are in a good place. And if you submit your resume, it should be viewed enough for you to likely get it pulled. Okay, so the next part of the resume that we are going to be talking about today is your contact information. This is so important because this is a significant thing I think that has changed when looking at resumes over time. So in your header, what do people need to know about you? You want to organize your contact information in a way that is easily viewable for your reviewer, for the reader. Your address is optional, but we typically don't see a physical geographical address. We typically see, you know, what city are you in? What is your geographic location based off of that? You don't even really need your zip code. You can include it if you want to. So a lot of people that we see, it would say Lexington, Kentucky. We don't need their whole physical address because people aren't sending a lot of paper mail anymore. You need one phone number, and you don't necessarily need to put cell or house or work. You could just put the phone number there. Whatever is most likely to get answered by you whenever somebody's calling for a follow-up. Your email and your LinkedIn URL, you want to include those, and you want to make sure that they're hyperlinked. For your LinkedIn URL, you also want to make sure that you have a customized URL. So I believe mine, it says like Queen-Ayanna Sullivan, but I've gotten rid of all those extra zeros and numbers and letters and all that stuff, just because it makes it easier for someone to click on it and just know that this is exactly who I'm looking for. And it is optional to include your geographic target. So Midwest, Chicago Metro. This was a very interesting one to cover with some of our clients during COVID, because some people may be looking to get out of Kentucky. They may be looking to transfer, and they are open to relocating to a new area for a job. And that may be something that comes up during an interview process. You know, I see here that it says that you are located in Lexington, but you're applying to a job at Chicago. Can you tell me more about that? And so that is another reason why we have our geographic location on there, so that way we can communicate that effectively. So just as an example, we have Chase, chronological, Herndon, and chronological is the type of resume that you all will see in our resume and cover letter guides. We have Lexington, Kentucky, his phone number, his email address, and his LinkedIn with his custom URL link. So professional summary and profile section, this is kind of what I was talking about before, but you want to include a few relevant things the employer should know about you. What makes you stand out? You were hired to do X, Y, and Z. You want to mention industries that you have experience in. And you want to name anything that you may have been highlighted for, something that stands out for you. Why should they spend the time to read this? You want to capture someone's attention very early on, but you don't want to make it too long to where they're not going to read it. So you have a reputation for excelling in X, Y, and Z. You have a track record of satisfying 90% of the customers in the company and having a good retention rate. You've been recognized for having a great attitude and becoming a real team player and getting to know everybody that comes in and making people feel warm and welcome. Those are important things to highlight. So we have a professional profile samples. So senior sales manager, that is the job that Chase is applying to. It's not the job that he currently has. This is where I was talking about, you know, you want to make it customizable for every single job that you're applying to. So it says top performing sales professional with 11 plus years of progressive experience. And he consistently exceeded sales goals and increased client base. That's what I have. That's what I'm bringing to you. You know, you're marketing yourself, you're selling yourself up very easily. And if you wanted to, you can include 2 more sentences there about why am I here? Why am I talking to you today? What am I looking for? What am I looking to gain? So these keywords, kind of like what we're talking about, we have our product launch, our sales team development, contract negotiation, closing sales. These are all keywords that are common with the field that he's applying to. These are keywords that he did his research, and people that you know, are senior sales managers, these are words that are in their resumes. These are words that are in the job description. And so you're including those. Say you have these, but you also have the soft skills that I was talking about. If it's not transferable, if it doesn't really make sense to the job that you're applying to, you wouldn't necessarily include it because it may lead question, you know, why are you talking about being an art history major when you're applying to be a senior sales manager in business. That doesn't really make sense. And so you wouldn't use skills that someone in the art industry would. You wouldn't really put those in there at the very top of your resume because it would lead confusion. Okay, this is a professional example for someone that is focused on the skills part. So maybe you don't have a bunch of work experience, but you have those transferable skills. So operations, logistics, supply chain. So performance-driven, Six Sigma Black Belt experienced manager with 11 plus years of progressive experience within logistics and supply chain functions of large manufacturing facilities. So with that, we know that you have experience, but maybe you have taken some time away. You still bring this to the job market. You still bring this skill set with you. They wouldn't have to necessarily retrain you all over again from scratch. So supply chain management, leadership, project management, quality assurance, these are things that you feel confident in. And also you want to keep in mind with these keywords, if they ask you about it, have an example ready, because it looks very weird for you to include it on your resume and not be able to kind of back it up with a story or a key example of, okay, this one time I had to work through this challenging thing and I used these skills. Professional experience. Okay, now we're jumping to the next section of our resume. So for your professional experience, you want to be concise. You want to use accomplishment-oriented bullet points. So quantifiable numbers. Those are things that catch people's attention. What stands out? What is the most important thing that people need to know about you in this job? What skill set did you gain? What did you accomplish? What was acquired? Begin statements with an action verb. And I have some examples on the PowerPoint slide so you all can get some examples of the words that we're talking about. Like I said before, you want to include quantifiable information whenever possible. What was the end result? How did it turn out? This is also beneficial for interviews because you can use the STAR method. That R, what was the result? And you want to focus on the big picture. So the story, the results, the accomplishments, not the everyday tasks and duties, because, you know, we know that you don't love all parts of your job, but you were able to excel. You were able to make it seem like you enjoyed this. And this was something that was very beneficial. You were learning, you were helping others. So these are some action words that Alumni Career Services has come up and shared with you all. It is located in our first timer packet and our resume and cover letter guide section. And so when you are thinking about your resume, if you are no longer working in the position, it's something that's in the past, every single sentence should begin with the past tense. And these words are here because it helps you break up the text so you're not being repetitive. And it also helps you think more about how can I creatively explain what I did. Instead of completed duties as assigned, you could say you could say that I streamlined processes and created a new production system that was beneficial and cost saving. That would be something that, you know, gave a little bit more detail, a little more concreteness to what did you do and what did you accomplish and why are you excelling and why are you the best thing, you know, since sliced bread. And we also have another resource for you all. This is from Enrolled Career Publishing. And these are some resume writing verbs for you all. We want to make sure that we're giving credit where credit's due. And this is just a longer list that would be beneficial that we don't necessarily have. But if you go online to the link, you'll be able to access a more extensive list of resources for you all. And so these are just words that you can use that help beef up your professional summary section. And here are some more words. And some more words. Think about, even as you're looking at this, what's standing out to you? What's capturing your attention? For me, the first one was synergize, synergy. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to talk about is our resume boosters. So when you are writing the resume, what problems did you solve? What did you increase, generate? Are you in sales? Are you in business? Are you in customer service? Did the company save money by anything that you did specifically? Were you a key attribute in pulling in customers and generating revenue? Did you have responsibility for special projects? This is something that I think comes into perspective a lot when we're going through mock interview sessions with our clients, because when people are going through situation based questions or behavioral based questions, they very easily say, well, we did this, we did that, the team did this, the team did that. And yes, you may have worked on a team, but guess what? The team's not interviewing for this job right now. And so it's okay for you to say we or the team maybe once or twice, 3 times max. But from there, what did you specifically do that led to a positive end result, or an end result that you learned from it and you're able to grow and move forward from there? Keep those things in mind, because people are really listening for that. Can you do something by yourself? Does it always have to be in a team? But also, can you work well with other people? It's kind of like 2 sides to a coin. You need to keep all things in perspective. Do you have experience training or supervising staff? If so, how many? Talk about it. Brag on yourself. I call it the humble hype. You want to be very humble, but you want to sell yourself. You want to make sure that you're the best candidate represented. Have you received any awards or certifications that are relevant to your target position? Have you been employee of the month, customer of the month, not customer of the month, customer service associate of the month? Have you been excelling? Has it been recognized? You want to keep note of all this stuff and keep it on your resume. So these are this is another screenshot from our first timer packet. And these are some ways that you can kind of question yourself. You can sit and think about your resume, think about ways that you can beef it up, and answer these questions for yourself. And if it's easy for you, if you can think of an example, think of a way that you can include it on your resume. Think of a way that you can reword, you can rewrite, you can revise, have somebody else read through it. Doesn't make sense to them. If so, there you go. You're making your resume better just there. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to talk about is our work experience formats. When it comes to formatting a resume, so many people that we see kind of get hung up on the nitty gritty. They use a lot of templates, which we do not advise, because when you send a template to somebody via email, it can mess up everything. Your formatting could be all over the page and it can get very confusing. You want to choose what is most appropriate for your experience in your job search goals. Pro tip, like I said, do not use formatting programs. Another tip that I should say, do not include your picture on your resume, and do not include a whole bunch of color unless you are in a creative type of profession. It can be very distracting and it can kind of lead people to be confused, and it can also age you. So if you're hearing this and you're getting scared or freaked out, please don't. It's very easy. You don't have to delete everything that you have. Just get a new Word document and start from scratch. A lot of the stuff should be transferable. So here is some sample formatting. You can start off by putting the company name, the city, and the state. And if you want, you can put a tagline describing the company or what you're responsible for. So in our example, in our resume cover letter guide, we have an employee that works for Rolled Golf. Someone may not know what that is. And so they may put, the top golf company in the eastern region of the United States. That may be something that people need to know. You don't have to necessarily include it. On the right alignment, you want to have all of your dates for the entire resume. So whether it's in your job history, whether it's in your accomplishments, whether it's in your professional development, when people look to the right, everything should be the same across the board. You want to put the title of your position. And like we said, maximum 5 bullet points. What did you accomplish? What was important? What skill set did you gain? What do people need to know about you? Do not simply list the job duties and responsibilities, because if somebody wants to see that, they could easily Google it. They could see, what did you have to do? But what did you excel in? That's the real question. Rather, prove your individual skills and how you made a positive contribution. Quantify when possible. Here is another example of formatting. So if you held multiple positions within one company, this is very common to see if people have worked for a long time or if you want to show loyalty to an organization. For example, I was at UK for 6 years. I completed 2 degrees, and while there, I held multiple job titles. So on my resume, I have the company name, the University of Kentucky, Lexington, Kentucky. Title of position, I worked as an assistant resident director in a residential facility, and I worked there. But I also worked at the Disability Resource Center, and I also worked as a multitude of other things. I worked at Starbucks, and so those are things that I would want to include to show that, hey, I am loyal to UK. I've been here for a while. I work at Alumni Career Services now. These are things that can help save you space, and it just helps. You know, it looks a little bit nicer because it's more of a chunking format. And you have on the right alignment the years. So say I was at UK for 6 years, but I worked as a assistant resident director for 2 years. And so that's why next to the title of position, I would have those 2 years there. So that way people can better understand, you know, what time frame did I hold these specific positions. Okay, another sample formatting. So changing careers / relaunching after a gap. So your relevant skills, project management, skills in marketing, cost reduction and avoidance. You want to back that up a little bit. So you want to have a few bullet points to explain why you have that on there, and you know what is proven that you have these skills. And then you want to include your professional experience. So say you took 5 years off because you had a child and you want to be a stay-at-home parent. And so you want to talk about the skills that you've gained there, or just skills that you had before your profession, but you also want to include your professional experience. So that way people know that you have worked in your industry. People know that you do have some work experience, and those are still skills that may come back to you and may be easily accessible. So the title of your position, the company name, a one-line description of your role, and the number of years that you were there at the company. Okay, and another one, early career experience is more relevant to the target position. So say you worked in childcare, but then you went on to be a real estate agent. Those are the most recent examples that are coming to my head. But now that you have done your 20 years in real estate, you really want to go back to working in childcare, or say you want to work for a women's center because that's something that's very passionate to you. That's something that you feel strongly about. You still want to include that work experience from 25 years ago, but you want to make sure that it makes sense. You have experience working in this, but it hasn't been in a very long time. And so this is what this is targeting. This is why it's different. So your relevant professional experience would kind of be here at the top. So you'd have the company name and the years, the title of position, what you accomplished there, why it was important. But you also want to have your additional professional experience. So that way you don't have, yes, I worked in childcare. Yes, I worked at a women's center 25 years ago, but I've also been working in real estate. Now I'm coming back to it because I'm so passionate about it. It's something that I want to do now that I can technically retire, but I don't want to. I'm choosing not to. Another thing that I should say is if you are recently in school, that wants to be at the top of your resume, just because you may not have all this professional experience. So anybody that's listening, if you are a younger career professional, I don't want you to freak out. If you don't have all this experience, that's perfectly okay. Having your education at the top of your resume will explain why you don't have as much resume experience or professional experience. So yeah, kind of previewing myself, your educational section. So here are 2 options. You could put University of Kentucky, Lexington, Kentucky. My master's degree is in counseling psychology, and you could have it listed like that. Or you could do it like this. So I would say counseling psychology, master's of education, University of Kentucky, Lexington, Kentucky. Also note that your most recent degree should be first, like we said, with a reverse chronological, most recent back in time. There is no need to include the graduation date if you graduated over 5 years ago, just because that can age you, and we don't want our clients to face any type of discrimination while going through the job search process. And also, I would say that if you have higher education, if you have advanced degrees, you can get rid of your high schools. We don't need to see that on there. That's something very common that I see on my clients' resumes. So additional resume sections. This is always a fun one to brainstorm with people because you do so much more than you think about and you want to highlight that. So education and training / licensure. Did you complete some type of training or education program? Did you do something extra that wasn't necessarily required for you? Do you have certification in something? You want to write that down. Community engagement, leadership and board positions, professional development, professional affiliations. What that means is, are you paying for something? I am a member of the American Psychological Association. I pay dues for that every single year. That is definitely going on my resume. Your continuing education courses, computer skills that you may have. Are you competent and knowledgeable in Word, Excel? LinkedIn actually has little quizzes for you to take them. They're not that easy, but they can prove that you are competent in this skill set so people can see that. And I actually have that on my LinkedIn so people can see. Are you bilingual, multilingual? Can you speak to people in other languages other than English? That's very important, especially being here in the United States. So you want to sell that up. Any testimonials that you may have, awards and honors, certifications and training, and prior career highlights. Every single thing that you do, even if your child is in the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, you want to include that on there. Are you volunteering? Are you being active in your community? Are you engaging? This is also helpful for, say you are applying for a job at UK, but you're having a hard time getting in the system. Are you active within the Lexington community? Are you aware of, the people that you want to serve? That is something that you can be able to sell up for yourself. That's something that you can talk about. You're giving back. You're still knowing what's going on within the area that you're trying to work in, and you're trying to become an active member or part of. Okay, so here are some no-nos. Please excuse the dogs. You don't want to use internet templates. That's what we talked about before. You don't want to use an objective statement because it aids you. You want to you don't want to distribute the same resume to several employers. So that's why we talked about at the very beginning, you want to make it customized to every single job that you're applying to. You don't want to list responsibilities or duties, and you don't want to include general statements that can lead people to get kind of bored and not want to read further. You don't want to include lengthy paragraphs. You don't want to include all of your work experience. And we say this a lot to our clients, you want to trust your reader. You want to say something that's going to capture their attention. I say this in when I'm doing elevator pitch sessions with people as well. You want to give people a little snapshot of who you are and trust that if they're interested, if you say something that catches their attention, they're going to follow up and ask you a question. You don't want to use personal pronouns while you're writing your resume. So I did this, my team did this, our team did this. You want to kind of write in third person. You don't want to include graduation dates and personal information unrelated to the job. So people don't need to know that you are married. They don't need to know your age. They don't need to know that you have children. They don't need to know that you're trying for children. This is information that could actually end up hurting you in some cases. And so you don't want to, put that out there too early. And you don't want to list references available upon request just because that can aid you as well. I say that it is best to always have your references in a Word document ready to go in case somebody does ask you for that, but you don't need to, include that on there just in general. Okay, so resume and cover letter ages to avoid. You want to avoid using an AOL or Hotmail email address. I know it's hard getting rid of it. I still have my AOL. My parents loved AOL, and I don't use it on professional platforms when I'm submitting my resume somewhere, just because people will think that I'm a lot older than what I am. You don't want to admit your LinkedIn URL address just because your LinkedIn is so important. LinkedIn is something that people are using a lot more, and so you want people to know that you're up and recent with the times. You listing more than 10 to 15 years of work experience. You don't want to do that. Using the phrase responsible for in the position descriptions rather than accomplishments, just because responsible for doesn't really sound like something that you were excited about. It doesn't sound like something that, you really take pride in. And using the salutations to whom it may concern, dear sir or madam, in correspondence, try to write the person's actual name, or dear hiring committee, dear person something that it makes it seem more tailored to the job that you're applying to, more tailored to the people that you're keeping in mind. Up here, I have some pictures. LinkedIn is very common. We also see Microsoft or Google. So people are using Outlook a lot. Outlook is kind of the go-to for the University of Kentucky. They made that transition over the years while I was there. And so you just want to use what is most comfortable for you, but also kind of do your background research on what are people in the organization using that you're trying to apply to. Okay, here we have another resource. These are just a checklist of things to keep in mind as you're going through your resume. As you are doing it, what do you kind of want to be aware of? What do you want to take note of? These are things that other people may be paying attention to, so we want to make sure that you're paying attention to it as well. Please don't feel rushed to write this down. This is covered in our resume and cover letter guide in our first timer packet. This is something that you have access to. It is on the website. It is free to our clientele. Okay, and lastly, you all can do it. These are just some tips and tricks that I want you all to keep in mind and remember as you're going through this process. Focus on what's most important. As a reminder, people spend 4 to 7 seconds doing an initial scan. That's so fast. Our attention spans just don't have it anymore. So you guys need to focus on what do people need to know about me. Update your resume and LinkedIn regularly. Every time you do something, every time you accomplish something, every time that you are going out of your way to make a move to benefit yourself or others, you want to include that. And also be sure to keep up to date with recent trends. Being aware of what's going on in the world with resumes can help you in the long run. Double and triple check your documents. Have another person read your documents if possible, someone that you trust. Have your computer read it back to you. That's something that I do all the time. Being in school, being in psychology, I have to write papers upon papers upon papers. And so in Microsoft Word, there's actually a function that your paper can read it. Your computer can read your paper back to you. And so you just listen, because after doing something for such a long time, your eyes can see things that aren't there. So you may have missed a word, but reading it back to you, you can hear, okay, I need to stop, pause, add a word. I need to stop, pause, add a comma. These are things that are helpful while you're going through your resume as well. Look into downloading Grammarly to help. Grammarly is a free tool that you can use on your phone, on your email, on a Microsoft Word document, on a Google document. These are things that, it's just a second set of eyes in case you don't have another person to help you. And I'm not being sponsored by them at all, but this is just a great tool that I love and I use all the time. It also learns your writing style, and so it can help give you advanced tips and tricks. And like I said before, save your resume as a PDF before sending it to an employer, because when you send your resume to someone as a Word document, as a Google document, the formatting messes up 9 out of 10 times. And people will just think that, it's unprofessional, you didn't take the care to do it, when really it looks perfectly fine on your side. It's just, to them, it's a little bit confusing. Okay, if you all need more assistance, we definitely welcome you to join the Alumni Career Services. And a benefit of the UK Alumni Association Active/Life membership is that you get 2 free sessions a year with us. Anyone can join, not just UK alums. It's a 75-year donation of your choice, and you can visit this hyperlink to get started. Here's some of our contact information. So we recently transitioned to back in person. And so we are located at 210 Malibu Drive in Lexington, Kentucky. Here are some phone numbers to get in contact with us in case you would like to book an appointment or a session. And here is our social media. So Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Handshake, all of the great things. And here are just some articles for further engagement. So how to write a resume that stands out, and the link to our welcome packet for our first timers, and just for anyone that would like to reference some of the resources that I spoke about and touched on today. Thank you so much for joining us today. This was great talking to you all about. I'm very passionate about resume writing, and I am so happy to answer any questions that you have.
Okay, so thank you, Queen. Thank you for this awesome presentation. Thank you guys for being interactive and putting some questions here in the chat. And so we want to go ahead and get right to those so that Queen can answer some of these questions. And we may have Amanda answer a few, but I believe Queen's going to answer most of these questions for you guys. So let's see here. The first question that I have here, my biggest question, and this is from, let's see here. Yes, from one of our attendees. Okay. My biggest question is, if and how do I address quitting my job due to childcare issues from COVID on my resume or cover letter? I already have a 14-year-old gap in my resume from being a stay-at-home mom. Went back and got an MBA, was able to work for a little over a year before COVID. I also happened to move to Texas from Lexington, to Texas from Lexington during COVID as well. While that wasn't a reason I quit, is relocating a better explanation?
So what this sounds like to me, listening to it or hearing it, is you kind of want to massage. Okay, so this is something that when we are talking to our clients, a lot of people have had challenges during COVID. And someone may ask you why you left a company or why someone lost their job. You never want to make it seem like it was fault of your own. I experienced, due to COVID, there were a lot of challenges that my family and I experienced, or that multiple people within our organization experienced. And that led to a separation within employees within the organization. Unfortunately, I was impacted by that. And at this time, I'm excited to explore new career opportunities. So you're not withholding the truth, but you're just massaging it a little bit more, because if you come off the bat and you kind of say that, you had problems with childcare or something like that, people may assume that it's an issue that may be reoccurring.
Alrighty. And let's see here. There's a question. I'm not sure if you can answer it, Queen or Amanda. This what document has the resumes and cover letters. This person thought it was the Job Club first timer resources, but does not see it. Is it from a link within the document? Do you know, or you're aware, Amanda?
So you kind of have to play around on our website a little bit. It took me a little while to find it at first, but if you, and Amanda, feel free to correct me as well, because Amanda actually had to show me how to get to the specific one that was more inclusive. But it is a link on the Job Club website where it's like a resource for our clientele. And at our presentation, I can go back to it after the end of our questions. I actually have a link to that specific one, so you can write down the URL to get to it.
Okay, alrighty. So next question here. We have a lot of questions here. Okay, if you truly don't know the exact person you are writing to, how do you recommend addressing them without using to whom it may concern, or Sarah or ma'am?
I would say, dear hiring committee, dear, sorry, I do this sometimes. I'm thinking about like synonyms in my head and ways to reword stuff. I do this a lot too. I get on Google and I will look up synonyms for words. And so I'm trying to think about actually how I wrote it to Amanda, because I don't think I put her name in it when I applied to work at Alumni Career Services. Dear reviewer, dear, basically you can highlight their job description or their job title in that phrasing. But in worst case scenario, dear hiring committee, dear reviewer.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. This kind of ties into that question. It says, how can we get the person's name to address it to when we are applying online and there are multiple locations around the country and there's no phone number to find whom to address the cover letter to? So I think that kind of answers that question also. Alrighty, let's see here. On the next question here. Let's see here. We have a lot of responses here. It looks like there's a lot of correspondence between individuals or attendees, which is really good here in the chat. Okay, so there's a question about well, let's see here. A tip: I've always found that PowerPoint is better for formatting than Word. When your resume is ready, you can save it as a PDF. Do you have any feedback about that? Do you agree with that? Any feedback about that statement, Queen?
Can you say the first part of it one more time?
That's okay. Okay, let's see here. This is a tip. Someone has mentioned here, there's some conversation going on about saving resumes. And there's a tip here that says, I've always found that PowerPoint is better for formatting than Word. When your resume is ready, you can save it as a PDF. Is that something that you would agree with? I'd like to touch base on with the panel attendees here.
I have never heard of someone saving their resume in a PowerPoint. I've heard of people using a PowerPoint for making like charts and graphs, but I wouldn't necessarily say you want to include that on a resume just because you don't want to include a lot of just graphs. You don't want to include a lot of stuff that's not text-based on your resume. And so, Amanda, do you have any advice about that? Maybe using PowerPoint to save a resume?
I'm curious about that one myself. My concern about it is that it would be in landscape format instead of portrait mode. So the PDF might look a little off. Now, if you're going for more creative types of roles and you are using PowerPoint as a portfolio of your work and you're saving that as a PDF to upload, I could certainly see the value in that. But for the traditional resume, I would say Word for formatting, not using a template like you recommended, because you don't want your resume to look just like a competitor, and then uploading it in a PDF so that you know your formatting is locked in. That's my 2 cents.
Okay. All right. Thank you, guys. I'm going to go on to another question here. This one says, I am an athlete who played ball all my life. I never had a job in high school except helping my aunt in the summer at her boutique. So I don't have anything to put on my resume yet. What do you do, or what do I do about that? I have a summer internship now, so we'll have that experience, but it's not until it's over. I just started. So what advice would you give to this person here?
I would say it sounds like you're a younger person, and it's perfectly okay that you don't have a bunch of professional experience. Highlight all the sports that you did play in high school. This was something that I kind of experienced when I first started out. I played 3 sports in high school. I golfed, I cheered, I powerlifted. And so I didn't have time for a job. I didn't get my first job until after I graduated and I was coming into UK as a freshman. And so I talked about all the awards that I won. I talked about the different competitions that I was at. I talked about all of the different leadership positions that I've held within those organizations and skill sets that I gained from there. And just the dedication, the time, the commitment, waking up early, staying late. Those are things that you can highlight that are transferable to a job. It just shows that, you are a team player and you're someone that's actually going to be committed long term.
All righty, thank you. Okay, next question here. Should the amount of information you include on each past position be similar? Or is it okay to include more information for your most recent position than less information for an older position?
It's okay to include more information for a most recent position because it's kind of assumed that you're going to be talking about that the most in whatever job that you're applying for. When they're looking for examples, it's going to be the thing most recent in your head. And so you're going to be able to pull from it the most. So it makes sense.
Okay, all right, that's time for some more questions here. Let's see here. I have an employment gap due to the pandemic. Should I include that on my resume, and how? Sometimes I can't include a cover letter.
I wouldn't necessarily say that you need to include it. Like I was kind of explaining before, you want to massage it. So due to COVID, the company that I worked for, the company that employed me, recently had cutbacks and multiple people were impacted by that. Unfortunately, I was one of those people, but now I'm looking forward to new business opportunities, more career opportunities. And that's what you would say in an interview if somebody were to ask you about the gap.
Okay. All right, next question here. It says, I have several resumes that are pretty different, but I think I can only upload one on some of the job sites like Indeed or LinkedIn. Can you have more than one resume on file for these sites?
That's a good question. I'm kind of curious about that to see like what are the differences? Are you highlighting different types of jobs? For me, like I have a CV versus a resume that I use more often just because I am a forever student and a lot of the stuff that I do is academic based. And so with that, I would say it just depends. Like, what do you want people to know about you? What is most important? And you have got to kind of evaluate that for yourself, and especially for the job that you're applying to.
Okay. All righty. Okay, so looks like that's it so far, but of course there are plenty of congratulations here. As I mentioned, there's a lot of swap of info here about resume writing and tips. Great presentation. Thank you. This was great information. Thank you, Queen. Of course, I hope that some of our graduates and soon to be graduate students are participating. Thanks, Queen, again. Great presentation. And so, yeah, if you guys have any more, well, it's right about 10. So I know we want to jump into the other part of the meeting, but if you have any other questions here, if you want to get those typed in, let's see here. Looks like we may have one more. Okay, great. Thank you. And great presentation. So many thanks, Queen. Seems to be
No
a
problem.
great session
And
here.
for the person that asked, this is the link. This first one, University of Kentucky Alumni Association, it's a Google Drive document. You all cannot download it. You can just see it. But this is the more inclusive one. So feel free to take a picture right now really fast before we keep going with our presentation. I'll give it about 10 seconds. I'll give it a few minutes. Okay, move forward.
All right, thanks so much. Great job, Queen, as always. Super proud of you. At this time, we're going to go ahead and move forward with our employer component, our active job leads. If there are any employers in the audience who would like a 1-minute spotlight to share active job leads, feel free to use the raise hand function now, and I'll watch for that. We'll promote you up to a panelist, or you're welcome to share those in the chat. There were a couple that came through on the sharing community on LinkedIn that I want to share. The Lexington Fayette County Health Department has a couple of positions posted in that group. The University of Kentucky Federal Credit Union, Catholic Diocese of Lexington has hiring for a business manager, bookkeeper. KET sent in several last week, so you'll see that in the active job lead list as well. Same for KCTCS, they had a couple as well. So watch for those on the active job lead newsletter this afternoon. If you email me at ukalumnicareer@uky.edu before lunch today, I'll make sure those are in the descriptions or in the job lead newsletter for this afternoon too. I'm not seeing any hands up for employers. So at this point, we'll go ahead and move forward. Next slide, and we'll do some quick updates from our planning partners. Can you advance the slide for me, Queen? Thanks, hon. One more. So Diana's out on vacation today. I'll give a quick update for hers, and Ellie will share some good resources in the chat for programs that are going on at Fayette County Cooperative Extension. I just joined their book club, and Weta Michael's new cookbook is the book club book, and they're going to be doing some great discussion sessions on that. So join me for that one. That one's going to be really fun. And then Queen, you can advance, I think, 2 slides to Alumni Career Services. Excellent. Alumni Career Services, if you'd like to work on your resume or prepare for some upcoming interviews with me and or Queen or Caroline Francis, our director, we're taking clients now. We're happy to serve you. Shoot me an email at ukalumnicareer@uky.edu and we'll get you some more information on how to join the Alumni Association. Anyone can join the Alumni Association, even if you have no affiliation with the university. So it's a $75 charitable donation, $25 if you're within 5 years of graduating. So if you're a young professional, it's just $25. You can donate that to Dance Blue, cancer research, scholarships, anything that you want, and that'll get you active member status and many benefits, including Alumni Career Services. I'm going to pass it over to Nicole for updates from STEPS and wrapping up for today.
Okay, sorry about that. I was on mute. Okay, so thank you. Thank you guys for attending. Thank you again, Queen. And before we wrap up here, I do want to share some job leads from STEPS. There are several, so let me go ahead and get these copied. And I'm going to paste them in the chat box here. We'll also have those available for you guys later, as Amanda has mentioned. But yeah, we have several different jobs ranging from medical assistants, nurses, IT techs, business officers, patient services, IT installation. There are several, you guys, and I couldn't put them all on here. So feel free to click on the link there And there is a search engine there so that you can narrow down your job search. Kind of put in some skills there to help you find something that may be a good fit for you. So yeah, you guys be sure to visit that. And as I mentioned, this will be here later on this afternoon. The information will be available for you in the newsletter. So thank you guys once again. And let's talk about what's going to happen next in Job Club. Alrighty, so next time at Job Club, which is going to be July the 13th, we're going to be identifying and communicating your transferable skills for diverse career pathways, which is a really, really good subject there. So this is going to be presented by Ashley Sorrell, PhD Assistant Director, Graduate Student Professional Enhancement and Faculty Instructional Consultant, CELT, UK. So please register for our next Job Club. Thank you guys again today. Thank you again, Queen. This was very, very good information, well needed. And thank you guys for being interactive and putting your questions in the chat box there. So yes, and so register at www.ukalumni.net/jobclub. All righty. So thank you, everyone. Thank you guys for attending. We hope to see you next time. And feel free to shoot us any questions, and you have the information there for any questions for alumni services. They actually do offer additional services, so feel free to visit that website. Alrighty, you guys have a great, great morning, great rest of your week, and we'll see you next time on Job Club. Bye.